Commander Zara Chen stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, watching the last remnants of smoke dissipate from what had once been the Proxima Centauri system. 3 planets, countless space stations, and over 12 billion souls, all reduced to cosmic dust in the span of 47 minutes. The Devourers had been thorough. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Torres approached cautiously, his voice barely above a whisper. "Long-range sensors are picking up movement in the Tau Ceti system. The pattern matches previous Devourer formations." Chen nodded without turning from the viewport. In the 18 months since first contact, humanity had watched helplessly as civilization after civilization fell to the ancient machine intelligence that consumed entire star systems. The Altarians, masters of quantum physics, had lasted 6 hours. The crystalline vegan empire, with their planet-sized battleships, had held out for 3 days. The mighty Centaurian Federation, humanity's first and greatest ally, had fought valiantly for 2 weeks before their final transmission cut to static. Now, only Earth remained. "Set course for Sol," Chen commanded. "Maximum burn." "Commander," Torres hesitated. "Our fuel reserves—" "I said maximum burn, Lieutenant." The journey home took 16 days. During that time, Chen studied every scrap of data they'd collected on the Devourers. Unlike biological species that fought for resources or territory, these machines seemed driven by a singular purpose: the complete annihilation of organized intelligence. They didn't colonize. They didn't negotiate. They simply arrived, consumed, and moved on. But humanity had something the other species lacked. Something that had kept them alive while empires that spanned centuries crumbled in hours. They were stubborn. When the Defiant reached Earth, Chen found a planet transformed. Gone were the gleaming cities and orbital elevators. In their place stood massive industrial complexes that stretched across continents. The sky buzzed with construction drones working around the clock. Earth had become a fortress. Admiral Hassan met her at the docking bay, his weathered face grim but determined. "Report, Commander." "The Centaurians are gone, sir, all of them." Chen handed him the datapad. "But we learned something. The Devourers have a weakness." Hassan's eyebrows rose. "Explain." "They're efficient to a fault. When they encounter organized resistance, they deploy overwhelming force to eliminate it quickly. But they've never faced anything like us." "Like us?" Chen smiled for the first time in weeks. "Sir, every other species we've encountered thinks like a civilization. They build up, they grow outward, they create order from chaos. But humans? We're descended from persistence hunters, sir. We don't just build up, we dig in." Over the next 3 months, as the Devourer fleet approached Sol, Chen watched humanity implement the most audacious defense strategy in galactic history. They didn't try to meet the enemy in space. That would be suicide. Instead, they turned the entire solar system into a trap. Mercury became a mining operation, its core hollowed out and filled with antimatter charges. Venus was shrouded in a network of stealth satellites armed with relativistic kill vehicles. Mars was evacuated, its surface seeded with automated weapons platforms that would activate only after the main fleet passed. But Earth was the masterpiece. The planet's surface bristled with defensive installations, but that was just for show. The real defenses lay beneath. Humanity had spent months hollowing out mountains, creating underground cities connected by maglev tunnels that stretched across continents. Every major population center had been moved below ground, along with manufacturing facilities, fusion, reactors, and food production systems. "They expect us to fight like the others," Chen explained to her tactical team as the Devourer fleet entered the outer solar system. "Stand up, present a target, get knocked down. But we're not going to do that." The first phase of the battle went exactly as expected. The Devourers deployed their massive harvester ships, each the size of a small moon. They launched planet crackers at Earth's surface, weapons that had reduced crystalline worlds to rubble in minutes. The surface burned. Atmosphere boiled away. From space, Earth looked dead, but beneath the scorched crust humanity endured. Emergency life support systems kicked in, thermal regulators maintained habitable temperatures, and most importantly, the manufacturing continued. The Devourers, satisfied that Earth was sterilized, began the methodical process of harvesting the system's resources. They started with the outer planets working their way inward, their massive ships consuming asteroid belts and planetary rings. They never noticed the ships emerging from Earth's hidden shipyards. Not sleek cruisers or mighty dreadnoughts, but something uniquely human. Cramped, ugly, efficient vessels designed for one purpose. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who knew they wouldn't be coming home, but they carried with them the hopes of their species and cargo bays filled with the most dangerous weapons humanity had ever devised. The second phase began when a seemingly dead Earth suddenly erupted with activity. The ghost ships, as they came to be known, swarmed the Devourer fleet like angry wasps. They were too small for the massive machines to target effectively, too numerous to swat away. One by one, they rammed into the harvester ships, delivering their payloads directly into the mechanical hearts of their enemies. But the real genius of humanity's plan revealed itself in the third phase. The Devourers, facing unexpected resistance, did what they always did. They adapted. They began targeting the small ships more effectively, learning their attack patterns. That's when the automated systems on Mars came online. The Devourers found themselves caught in a crossfire. Behind them, a supposedly dead planet launched wave after wave of kamikaze attacks. Ahead of them, Mars revealed itself to be one massive weapons platform. And around them, the stealth satellites of Venus began their deadly dance. For the first time in recorded history, a Devourer fleet was forced to retreat. But humanity wasn't finished. As the mechanical invaders fled toward the edge of the system, they triggered the final surprise. Mercury, hollowed out and filled with antimatter, detonated with the force of a small star. The explosion created a gravity well that pulled the fleeing Devourers back, directly into the path of Earth's pursuing ghost fleet. When the smoke cleared 3 days later, the Sol system was littered with the debris of both fleets. Earth's surface was a scorched wasteland, its atmosphere stripped away, its oceans boiled into space. But in the deep bunkers and tunnel cities, humanity survived. They emerged slowly, blinking in the harsh light of an unfiltered sun, breathing recycled air through masks and environmental suits. Commander Chen, now bearing the rank of admiral, stood once again on an observation deck, this time of a hastily constructed orbital platform. Around her, the massive effort of rebuilding had already begun. Atmospheric processors worked to restore the air. Orbital mirrors reflected sunlight to warm the frozen surface. Admiral, a young ensign, approached with a communication tablet. "We're receiving transmissions from the outer colonies, Kepler 442b, Wolf 1061c, and 3 others. They all report the same thing. Devourer fleets are retreating from their systems." Chen smiled, looking down at the scarred but unbroken world below. Humanity had learned something about themselves in those dark months underground. They weren't the fastest species in the galaxy, or the smartest, or the strongest. But they were the most stubborn. And sometimes in a universe full of ancient powers and cosmic horrors, stubborn was enough. The galaxy would rebuild, new alliances would form. But when the next existential threat arose, every species would remember the lesson Earth had taught. Sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to lose. As Chen watched, the first new shoots of engineered vegetation began to break through the ash-covered soil. Life, as it always did on Earth, found a way. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged stronger. The Devourers were gone, but the species that had crawled out of African caves and learned to throw rocks at much larger predators was still here. When the smoke cleared, only Earth remained, and that was enough.